133 to 159 for the NDA, Gadbandhan at 75 to 101. The Jan Swaraj party of Prashant Kishore between 0 and 5. This is People's Pulse. Pollster Rajan Pandey now joins our poll team. Mr. Pandey, welcome. Can you explain to those watching on NDTV what you picked up during your poll on the ground, and how have you come to this assessment that the NDA seems comfortably placed to form the government once again in Bihar?
See, for the first, I would like to say that this election is very different from the past elections that happened in, I should say, last 20 years. Now, if we compare it in terms of various indicators, let's say issues. So 2005 was a vote for change. Nitish Kumar was coming resurgent. 2010 was the vote for continuity of that change. And then 2015 was a very different election. It was an election when a resurgent BJP, which had triumphed nationally on the political landscape, was vis-a-vis Lalu Prasad and Nitish Kumar, who had been political force since a very long time. And then 2020, again, there was a lot of talk of jobs, a lot of talk of employment, performance of Tejaswi Yadav, a new RJD, a new Lalten, and all those things. Suddenly, this time, what we are seeing is a repetition of a lot of old things. For example, the primary campaign, the Jungle Raj campaign, is actually something which is almost 20 years old. And the jobs things, because in 2020 it was quite new, but in last 5 years there have been recruitments and other things. So this time I witnessed that the traction that Tejaswi Yadav had among the youth in 2020 election is not there. The kind of...
What does this also say, Veer, about the likes of a Tejaswi Yadav? Yeah. You know, it really seemed that 2020 was his big opportunity which slipped out of his hand. And here, instead of his profile growing over the last 5 years, it seems to have diminished.
Yeah, all logic suggests that he should have done better this time. There are fewer memories of Lalu, of Jungle Raj. He's had time to build up things. Young people have joined the electorate. They should vote for him. The failure is actually quite astonishing if these figures hold, etc., etc.
Chetan Bhagat, from the opposition's perspective.
Because people had Prashant Kishore also competing for that same position, younger, fresher, newer alternative. There has to be some...
Did Prashant Kishore, you think, Shubrashtra, make someone like Tejaswi feel inferior? Because for the young aspirational voter, that's the kind of aspiration they have. Young, educated, travelled, successful professional, rather than someone who's a dynast.
So, of course, there's a difference between a first-time businessman or a politician and somebody who inherits it. Of course, the hunger that Prashant would have is a hunger that will be missing in most of the second-generation politicians. More than that, I think one of the mistakes that, or perhaps the problems that Tejaswi faced was internal home dynamics. It is very difficult for a younger son to sort of claim the throne when you have a, elder brother
was
being
thrown out. So what's the problem?
But he's an irritant. He's an irritant.
But you can't blame Tej Pratap for where Tejaswi is at. Yeah. I want to ask Rajan Pandey.
Add something.
One second, Mr. Pandey, tell us what does your poll show about the performance of Prashant Kishore beyond just the headline numbers? What does it show on the ground about the kind of people, the kind of voters who voted for PK?
See, PK, we should look not... if we are evaluating PK, we should not evaluate PK on the basis of the vote percentage of the seats that he's getting at the end of everything. We should also see the trajectory of the whole thing. The Jan Swaraj has been doing a lot of things. And in terms of, now this is also very remarkable, in terms of the expenses that Jan Swaraj made, it should come into top 3. I mean, so much money they have spent. They have a very well-oiled organizational infrastructure, and there are branded cars, posters, rallies, everything with a very professional edge. But the momentum, and in fact, if you look at the issues, it's the PK's issues who are the most hit in Bihar. He is a guy who actually popularized this conception of some of the leaders who have criminal cases. He's the guy who has brought back the issue of employment and migration and things like that. And then when the iron is hot and you should hit it, at that very point of time, we see PK somewhere, just not giving his 100%. So that's quite surprising to me, because in Mokama...
You're suggesting that dal mein kuch kala hai. Do you think, Chetan, it will appear like that he built it up in a certain fashion, raised it to a tempo which seemed to be building to a crescendo, and then just kind of...
Well, there's all these conspiracy theories. Internet has nothing to do. So there's this B team, BJP theories going on. It may look like that, but I don't think so. I think he He definitely wants to make a change in Bihar and wants to come up with this alternative. RJD will get some votes from its like base, right? Muslim Yadav will vote for that. How much is the Tejasvi vote? And can Prashant Kishore, like, I think it's not 10%, but Prashant Kishore seems to be pulling 8 to 10%, and just pure Tejasvi vote is not there.
Ashok Malik, I think Chetan makes just one thing. Chetan makes an important point that what is the incremental vote? If he hopes to be chief minister at some point in time, Tejasvi Yadav needs to land the Tejasvi bump to the Gathbandhan ticket.
There are two challenges before Tejasvi. One, it's if these numbers are correct, it's fairly clear that like in the previous elections, he's maximized the Muslim Yadav vote, which is a core vote which more or less stays with the RJD, but there's an inability to grow beyond it. The second factor one needs to consider is that, again, if these numbers are correct, he is taking on Nitish at Nitish's, if not his peak, he's still very popular. Do remember that there was a whole series of very talented politicians in Gujarat, for instance. Bharat Singh Solanki was a very good politician in Gujarat. In normal times, he would have become chief minister. He just happened to coincide with the Modi 1.5 decades. So sometimes it just becomes difficult to take on a larger-than-life chief minister who is riding a crest for over a decade.
Okay,
Now,
yes.
In my opinion, as somebody who's seen Tejasvi closely, I think Lalu Prasad Yadav ji is Tejasvi's both greatest strength and his worst weakness. Why I say this, and I say this with responsibility, is that 35-36% he's getting is essentially Laluji's vote. But the ability to transcend that 35-36% is also due to Laluji, because none of the other castes want to come because they are scared of that Yadav domination. So he has both the strength of Laluji and a weakness, and therefore he's not been able to create a Tejasvi vote bank. Therefore, as you rightly said, becoming the chief minister. In Prashant Kishore's case, I see it a little differently. A lot of comparisons are made with Arvind Kejriwal. I actually compare it with two very different people, Kashi Ram and Bal Thackeray. The reason is both Kashi Ram and Bal Thackeray were born not out of movements, but started their own political parties. They didn't come in when there was a movement against something. NTR, Arvind Kejriwal all came when there was a movement, even the AGP in Assam. It is actually Prashant Kishore who started an organization, a political organization, where he believes there's a vacuum like Bal Thackeray or Kashi Ram believe. And I do believe if he stays the course, if that's a big if, he will have a future in Bihar.
No, but he's also Kanchan Gupta up against the BJP. Can he last it out for 5 years?
Bal Thackeray emerged from a movement,
Of course he did.
from an agitation, from
Very much.
the fact. I mean, to say that
I never forgot my fact. One second. The anti, when there was the anti,
Let
when there was the
Kanchan Das speak.
pro-Maharashtra
You made a point, let
movement,
Kanchan Das
Congress
speak.
was leading it.
Let Kanchan
No,
Das.
anyway, forget it. I mean, the
Congress is
point is two things over here. You're saying that people in Orissa, Bihar, they really don't particularly look for change and they're quite happy with things. You have to understand the political culture of every state across the country is not the same. Bihar, West Bengal, Orissa, even Assam, till BJP went and sort of shook up things over there, they are quite happy with the status quo. They don't want surprises. Let me put it this way. Number two, in Bihar's case, caste is ironclad. I mean, you cannot smash through it beyond a point. To say that this transcends caste and that, no, it doesn't. And lastly, I think somebody here, I think Amitabh made the point that people still have memories of Lalu's years. And that the segment which is new and fresh on the block, they are not the determining vote. It's the in-between age group which is the determining.
But that's the point Subhrashtra made earlier as well. And Pradeep Gupta
lastly,
made that point that the bulk of voters, he's saying almost 8 out of 10, vote purely on the basis of their caste. I mean, that's the primary factor for them.
Sorry.
Because
Please go ahead.
I'll again bring the same points. Those who are thinking this Prashant Kishore is going very well, they are assuming that Bihar is coming out of the caste bolt. That's what they're changing. And he Pandey, he forgets that. If he's Pandey, as far as Pandey is leading a party, he can't make any inroads in that system. But somehow we are trying to justify what we feel is happening in the state. But that is not what is happening, because you are going to, and number two, you are undermining Tejasvi, because that party for the last 30 years still remains the number one party in terms of number of seats. Votes have not gone down. It has gone down because of combination.
But this poll is, all these three polls are saying they've gone down.
All these polls are 1%, 2% maximum. And total, because the data is somehow, I
Subhasha.
suspect the data, because number of women they may have projected, then the whole data has to be looked into. I don't want to comment on that, because day after tomorrow when we speak of the actual result, we have to speak differently. The results are
Subhasha.
different. So I don't want to comment on that. But we must keep in this mind that whatever we are showing, assume it is correct. It reflects too many things, because Bengal, they are voting for the government after 20 years. That is one bigger surprise in the entire electoral. If you do empirical study, this is surprise, the exception which is happening here. And you are voting on for a person who doesn't seem to be fully control of the state. And number two, if this is right, there are other marks which is coming. Who is the number one party? Because whether BJP becomes lower than JDU, that is what it looks like in the poll.
Subhasha.
There have been a lot of missed opportunities for Tejasvi. If he really wanted to incrementally vote RJD share, he actually said it in one of his local sabhas that don't judge me by what my father did. If he would have made it a state narrative and ensured that he was there with the students, for instance, when they were protesting, if he was there with the during the university elections, he could have worn those fantastic different shaded t-shirts and gone there. But the point is, Rahul, that all these leaders, also his family dynamics, when we talk about his family dynamics, there's a lot of chatter between the Yadav youth population also with respect to the whole Halloween.
So let me put that question to Pradeep
publicized
Gupta
on
about
for no
Prashant
reason.
Kishore versus Tejasvi.
Halloween.
Do you think, what did you make while you were traveling, Pradeep, about the Prashant Kishore factor and the kind of impact you saw on the ground? And how did he compare as an opposition face versus the likes of Tejasvi Yadav?
The people was to contribute in a winning cause, and they can clearly see this time that Prashant Kishore is unlikely to form the government. So they have shifted to Tejasvi Prasad Yadav in bulk among the youth, which was supposed to be, Prashant Kishore's demography in that sense. So Tejasvi Yadav is a clear-cut winner.
Then what did you make of Tejasvi's campaign? And why do you think he hasn't been able to, from what we can see on the surface, able to emerge as a more potent opponent than what he was able to in the past few months?
So it's not about Tejasvi, as I mentioned earlier. It's all about the caste arithmetic at play in Bihar. Because beyond MY, you have to have somebody, sizable in terms of numbers to win the Bihar. I mean,
so did the VIP plan trying to get the Mallas on board with the Muslim Yadav, did that work?
That to 4%, Rahul. That to 4%. And secondly, the decision making as a Gadbandhan as a whole, वहाँ मैच चालू हो गया, आपकी टीम भी डिसाइड नहीं हुई कि कौन प्लेयर खेलने वाला है. How, I mean, आप पब्लिक को कम्युनिकेट होने में भाई समय लगता है कि इस सीट के ऊपर कौन है. 12 फ्रेंडली फाइट पे लड़ रहे हैं, ऊपर से जो उनके भाई है तेज प्रताप, वो एक अलग अपनी पार्टी, छोटी पार्टी बना के कर रहे हैं. तो ये सारी चीजें बजाय वोटों के जुड़ने का, ये सारी चीजें जो है फ्रेंडली फाइट वो कहते हैं, मैं तो उसको सोसाइडल फाइट कहता हूँ. वो किस हिसाब से फ्रेंडली फाइट बोलते हैं मुझे आज तक समझ में नहीं आया. वोटर के सामने तो मशीन दिख रही है और मशीन में 2 सिंबल दिख रहे हैं, उसमें से उसको एक सिलेक्ट करना है.
That's a good point you make. Sangvi calls it a suicidal fact. Given that they're in opposition and they have everything to win and nothing to lose, why can't they sort out something as basic and important as seat sharing well before polling day?
I think that's a pretty constant malaise with India's opposition. They go in there fighting with each other, and by the time it comes to fight the election, they've already fought themselves out. So yes, I think he's absolutely right. It was suicidal. But another point, which I think is worth making, is when you're talking about Tejasvi, is that he offered nothing new. He offered the same things, jobs, etc., help for the migrants that people have always offered.
What else could he have offered?
That's my point. That when we talk about Bal Thackeray, for instance, he offered Maharashtrian pride. Whenever Arvind Kejriwal offered an anti-corruption slogan, whenever anybody beats somebody, they have to say, we will do something better. Prashant Kishore tried. I don't think he had the credibility or the base yet to make something of it. But Bihar on the whole...
Can PK last for 5 years, you think?
That's up to him. It's a tough thing, to continue doing this for 5 years, having done so badly, if these are right.
Last year.
Yes.
I think all these years, media has pumped up Prashant Kishore into this great election winner. He wins elections for others. Now that convinced him into believing that he can go ahead and win an election for himself. Well, it doesn't work like that. A backroom strategist, if he could go and win an election, then a lot of us over here would be sitting in parliament.
What's your seat, Kanchanda?
So we would have been sitting
What's your most logical seat?
I mean, listen, So we would
All of us are Khan market candidates. All of us are Khan market candidates.
Khan market MPs.
May
MPs
I
of
just
Khan
add
market.
one,
ये
10 seconds.
गलत फहमी है कि आपने ममता बनर्जी के को चुनाव जितवा दिया.
Kanchan Das still not telling us which seat he fancies. एक तो होगी कहीं पे.
Rahul, for all
You are making light of the
No, but
matter,
it's
but
true.
it's a serious
CR
thing.
Park.
So,
INA market.
but
so strategists or campaigners or campaign planners, they are very good at their job. They are
No, but can I
important.
counter argue to say that Kanchiram said पहला चुनाव हारने के लिए, दूसरा हराने के लिए, तीसरा जीतने के लिए. Would we be judging this too soon? If
वो
we
सब
can
बोलने
ask-
वो सब बोलने के लिए where is Baspa today?
Let me say, those Kashiram had a caste backing. That's a different issue. One, I am saying Prashant Kumar, because media, as you rightly pointed out, media built it up. Because media is always looking for a person who is not true anti-establishment, but they want some person who seems to be anti-establishment. Let us promote him
You need
also.
a juicy
His
story.
voice also.
But sir, you know this well. You need a juicy story.
Rahul, listen. Rahul, can I
may I
just
just comment?
2 points here?
So, one small comment, Tehseen.
Sure.
My problem is that migration was a big issue. Every opposition leader was talking about migration as this anathema and it shouldn't happen from Bihar. But when the migrant workers were actually coming to vote in Bihar, did you see any opposition leader sitting with kiosks and wooing them and telling them to go vote for Mahagathbandhan? It was only the BJP, not even JDU. It was only the BJP which was, holding fort
I
at
have some
railway
trains also,
stations.
I have some
Yes,
yes.
data
That was
from the
election commission
Matrice
herself.
poll, and I will show this to our viewers to give a sense of how one of the polls is saying the caste matrix of Bihar rolled in this election. So let's take a look at that data right now, which will give you a sense of how the different communities voted. Now this is Matrice vote share. They're saying that amongst the general upper caste, 69% of the voters voted for the NDA, only 15% for the Gathbandhan. Amongst the OBCs, which is where the Yadavs are also placed in this classification, 51% voted for the NDA, 39% for the Gathbandhan. Amongst the Dalits, 49%, and this is really what the poll came down to. The fact that this vote is getting split, Tejaswi and the Gathbandhan were hoping to pull this towards the MGB. That hasn't happened. Amongst Muslims, quite predictably, massive consolidation. 78% voting for the Gathbandhan. Rajan Pandey, what does your caste matrix look at? Is it very similar to what we are seeing over here? And do you think that Dalits vote getting split in favor of the NDA is one of the reasons why the NDA seems so comfortably placed? You're on mute right now. Give us your caste matrix. Yes.
Yes, in terms of the caste matrix, we shared the data with you. See, the thing is that in Bihar, as everybody else has pointed out, the thing is that everything boils down to caste, is what everybody has been saying. And if you just add the caste supporting particular alliances and the parties which are parts of those alliances, then NDA already has a clear edge. So I don't see why there is so much conflict about the idea that NDA is going to, win this election. Because if we just add up the caste supporting various castes and communities supporting various parties of the NDA, their social matrix is far stronger, far bigger than the social matrix of the Mahagathbandhan.
Amit Shah thought in 2015, Ashok Malik, that he could challenge that the BJP is strong enough to win alone, as he discovered when the BJP won just more than 50, that's not the case. Rajan Pandey says, you just look at the caste lineup at the starting point and you know how this election finishes. Is that what Bihar will always be about?
No, not just Bihar. I mean, if you look at UP last year, that was also a very clever class coalition building by the Samajwadi Party and the Congress together, which did eventually
Why do you think Gathbandhan couldn't do it in Bihar?
Well, if you look at UP last year, just comparing UP last year to Gathbandhan this year, if these indeed are the results, the Muslim Yadav candidates were not at the forefront of the Samajwadi Party. They put together a vast sort of rainbow of candidates from different communities. I don't think the Mahagathbandhan or RJD did that.
That's a very basic and obvious thing to do. Rajan Pandey, why do you think they didn't do it? Especially because Akhilesh Yadav successfully laid out a template and a playbook in the Lok Sabha elections. Why did Tejaswi not follow it? So many Yadav candidates being given tickets versus, as Ashok pointing out, so many of the big faces of the SP are actually non-Yadavs, non-Muslims in 2024.
That's what surprises me also, because that was something which was tried and tested in Uttar Pradesh with success from one of the alliance partners of the India alliance, and that same formula could have been replicated. But there are two things for which I think Tejaswi could not do it. Number one, Tejaswi Yadav does not control the Yadav votes of Bihar like Akhilesh Yadav controls it in UP. So Akhilesh Yadav could say to Yadavs, okay, we are not going to give tickets to these many other, more than these numbers, and still the Yadavs will vote for Samajwadi Party. That could not happen in Bihar. In fact, in Bihar, if you look at Mithila and Simanchal regions, you will find that Yadavs, whenever there is a candidate, a Muslim candidate or non-Yadav candidate from the Mahagathbandhan alliance partners, they actually vote in BJP. And this, in fact, in case of JDU also, JDU has shown that it could get Yadav votes with ease. One of the biggest strongmen of Kosi Simanchal region from the JDU side is Vijender Yadav, who has been there since last 30 years. So the type of control that Akhilesh Yadav commands in terms of the Yadav votes is not there. And secondly, we were talking about leadership of Tejaswi and his problems. If you talk to the RJD cadres in Bihar, you'll find that his biggest problem is his consultant Sanjay Yadav, his advisor Sanjay Yadav. I mean, I was surprised to see the sheer scale of RJD cadres who hate Sanjay Yadav. And to such an extent that actually there was a family feud between Misa Bharti and one of the sisters and Sanjay Yadav and Tejaswi Yadav and all.
No, so there is this entire family dynamic, Veer Sanghvi. The other is, there is a template that Akhilesh laid out last year. He showed you how to win, or at least compete and give them a bloody nose, and yet he didn't follow that. Forget whether it worked for him or not, he couldn't even follow it.
Yeah, I actually find his whole campaign to be a bit of a mystery, because he didn't do anything significantly different. He didn't appear to stand for anything. He attacked Modi, he attacked the Chief Minister, he attacked Nitish, but so what? He needed to have some issue that could get him elected. He needed to have a strategy that could change the way in which people voted. He did nothing. It was just more of the same. And when you have more of the same, because Nitish did more of the same, and he did more of the same, it is, as Shubhrasta says, people go back to identity, to caste, and there they were at a disadvantage.
It also shows, Chetan, how the opposition in India seems locked in a chakravyuh where they can't find a way out.
They need a story, and they can't seem to get that one story which is against the NDA, that all over the country it seems to be an issue. Bihar people thought they might have a chance because the Muslim population is much higher. There's a lot of reasons why Bihar they could have won. And if you see the opinion poll 6 months back, they were neck and neck. I mean, it was supposed to be a nail biter. And even the last elections, the vote shares and all were very, very close. If you remember the data, this time there seems to be much more. So, opposition has tried. To be fair, they all have been, like Bihar has been very important. They have been trying. They did try to do the candidate selection. But yeah, they don't have that story.
The opposition is stuck in this chakravyuh which they can't seem to get out of.
I tend to agree with Chetan, and to the starting point, I think sometimes, and I say this because I want the opposition to win, we are stuck in an echo chamber. We are, as I said earlier, the inability of Tejaswi Yadav to break through that 35%. We are stuck in every universe in those who are cheering us, not wanting to see the extra fence sitters that we want to get onto our side. So we start believing the narrative that we create. For example, let me say that the vote chori issue was okay till the extent to get your cadre mobilized in the beginning of the election. It shouldn't have carried on. Now, elections, and Prabhu sir, you will agree with me, is a lot like momentum. You had a momentum going in the beginning of before BR even, the BJP even started a campaign. That was suddenly broken. Suddenly you didn't know what was happening. You had two different things, and nobody took Tejaswi seriously when he said, I can give you 3 crore jobs. So everything should have been
and with the vote Adhikar Yatra, you kind of build it further as you come close to polling. You don't take it to a climax and then go off on a leave.
Exactly what PK did. So the whole thing should have then translated into vote Adhikar, should have become Bihar Adhikar, and come back and we will give you your Adhikar. We didn't do.
But anyway, that's for the losing side in these exit polls. The victors though, what's the sense in that cap? Dhananjay Giri joins us, spokesperson of the BJP. Dhananjay ji, the NDA and the BJP would be quite pleased with the numbers in the way they stand right now?
Nikhil Anand here.
Boliye, boliye.
Rahul, Dhananjay Giri is not joining you. I am Nikhil Anand.
Ji, boliye sir.
Yeah. See, this election is very interesting in the sense that there was no other credible face. And Tejasvi failed to create a kind of conviction among the masses. And here we took the lead. NDA was a united force which started their campaign long back. In August, you remember, we held our collective district level NDA meeting in all the districts we held. Then we started with all assembly constituency had a NDA Sammelan. We completed this in September, October, half of the October. And here we took the lead. And Tejasvi failed to create a kind of rapport with Rahul Gandhi. Both were pulling the election apart. Vote chori was diffused, and Tejasvi Yadav came up with a very lucrative agenda, offered the Jivika sisters 30,000 rupees and permanent jobs, as well as other agenda by giving job to every household, a person of every household. But he failed to bring this agenda to the masses.
No, so now one of the subtext, of course, is how important is it, Nikhilji, whether the BJP comes out number 1 or number 2? Do you think the actual thing to look at is BJP and JDU and who ends up first and who ends up second? Would you be tracking that very carefully? Could there be a plot after the data comes out on the 14th?
No, actually, there was a good compatibility and coherence. And we responded each other very well. In every constituency where even LJP contested, the JDU and BJP workers were managing the election. In my constituency, Maner, it was done. And I see that the kind of rapport we saw among the NDA cadres, that was not there in earlier elections.
Okay. Stay with me for a moment. I want to go across to Maithili Thakur. She's a well-known singer, politician, contested her first election. One of the young faces in this campaign. Maithili, welcome. How was this campaign for you? As someone straight out of the world of music, fighting an election, what was this experience like for you?
I think this was the best decision of my life. और जिस तरीके से लोगों के बीच रहकर मुझे ये 30 दिन में मैंने जो सीखा है, ये किसी भी किताब से, किसी भी अन्य सोर्स से मैं नहीं सीख सकती थी. और 1 महीने मेरे लिए पूरा लाइफ चेंजिंग रहा है.
तो क्या सीखा आपने? गाने गाना एक चीज़ है, लोगों के बीच में जाके वोट मांगना आप कह रहे हैं कि बहुत सीखा आपने. हमारे दर्शकों को बताएं एनडीटीवी पे कि क्या सीखा आपने?
राजनैतिक अनुभव मेरा शून्य था. 1 महीने में मैंने ये सीखा है कि कैसे किसी भी चीज़ से ऊपर जनता जनार्दन का सम्मान, स्नेह और प्यार है. और किस तरीके से आप लोगों के बीच में रह करके उनकी सारी समस्याओं को पहले सुने और अपने हिसाब से आप उनकी कैसे मदद कर सकते हैं. क्योंकि राजनीति एक ऐसा मंच आपको देता है, एक ऐसी ताकत भी आपको देता है जिससे आप लोगों की समस्याओं को समाधान बहुत ही एफिशिएंटली कर सकते हैं. तो ये सारी चीज़ें, एक पर्सनल मैनिफेस्टो बनाना अपने क्षेत्र के लिए, जो हमारी पार्टी ने दिया है वो तो है ही, उसको जन जन तक पहुंचाना, कैसे वो सारी चीज़ें लोगों तक, वो सारी सुख सुविधाएं पहुंचाएं, अपने हिसाब से आपको कहाँ कहाँ क्या क्या त्रुटियां नज़र आ रही हैं उसको ठीक करना. तो ये सब चीज़ों का एक संकलन बनाना कि आने वाले 5 साल में मुझे क्या क्या करना है. तो ये दूरदृष्टि मुझे राजनीति नहीं सिखाया है.
आप अलीनगर से लड़ रही थी, आपका अलायंस तो जीत रहा है, ऐसे एग्जिट पोल के डेटा बता रहे हैं. आपको विश्वास है कि आप भी जीत रही हैं, या आप में अभी जैसे एग्जाम से पहले छात्र की थोड़ी टेंशन होती है कि एग्जाम तो हो गया, पता नहीं पर्चा कैसा कटेगा?
मेरा 1 सेकंड भी ये मैं नहीं सोच रही हूँ कि क्या होगा मेरे साथ, मैं जीतूंगी या हारूंगी. क्योंकि मैं इतनी ज़्यादा खुश और सेटिस्फाइड हूँ अपने 30 दिन के जर्नी से कि मुझे पूरा विश्वास है. ऐसा नहीं तो मन में फीलिंग आती है कि नहीं, मैं 5 साल में अब यहीं पे लोगों के बीच में रह करके सेवा करने वाली हूँ. तो मैं उसके लिए मेंटली तैयार हूँ.
अच्छा, आप फोक सिंगर हैं, तो मैं चाहूँगा कि जाने से पहले आप ये बताएं कि इस समय जब वोटिंग ख़त्म हो चुकी है बिहार में, आपके जहन में, आपकी ज़ुबान पर, आपके दिमाग में क्या गाना आ रहा है?
मैं लोकगीत ही सुनाती हूँ एक, बिल्कुल वोटिंग और इस सब माहौल से हट करके, जो मैं सोच रही हूँ।
प्लीज़।
भगवती गीत सुनाती हूँ, क्योंकि आज मैं बहुत सारे मंदिर भी दर्शन करने गई थी।
अच्छा, अगर आपके जहन में 2-3 गाने तो आपको 2-3 सुनाने होंगे। आप बोल रहे हैं कि अलग अलग गाने आ रहे, तो पहले वाले से स्टार्ट करते हैं प्लीज। यस।
जगदम्बा घर में दियरा बार आईनी है, जग तारन घर में दियरा बार आईनी है, हम बार आईनी है दियरा बार आईनी है, हम बार आईनी है दियरा बार आईनी है, जगदम्बा घर में दियरा बार आईनी है, जग तारण घर में दियरा।
वेरी नाइस। आपको लगता है आपकी आवाज सुन के वोटर्स ने आपको वोट दिया, या आपके चुनावी वायदे सुन के?
अरे हमारे वोटर्स इतने ज्यादा सजग कहूँ, क्या कहूँ, समझदार हैं कि उनको कोई भी जुमला उनके सामने में रखा जाए उससे प्रभावित ना होते हुए उनको मालूम है कि हमको कैसा बिहार चाहिए। मेरे
शुभराष्ट्रा है, शुभराष्ट्रा भी बिहार से आती है, उनके पास आपके लिए एक फरमाइश है। शुभराष्ट्रा जी
बताइए। मैथिली, आप प्लीज विद्यापति जी का भगवती गीत गा दीजिए।
जय जय भैरवी असुर भयाउनी, पशुपति भामिनी माया, सहज सुमति वर दियहि गोसाउनी, अनुगत गति तू पाया, जय जय भैरवी असुर भयाउनी।
Thank you.
Thank you. She's looking very calm, very relaxed. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll have you back on the 14th and we wish you all the best. It does teach you a lot, Prabhuji. Just fighting in 1 month, I can quite imagine what the young girl is saying. Teaches you more than any school and college you can go to.
Very confident. I admire her for that. But coming back to your basic agenda.
Yeah,
then.
so we'll slip into a break, and when we come back, we'll show you what the poll of polls say. We've shown you all the different polls. We'll bring it together, give you the big picture, try and hear from some of the voices out in the field and from our pundits in the studio. Our coverage of the exit poll continues on the other side of a quick break. Stay with us.
वॉल्यूम कम करेंगे? आपका पार्सल फिर से हमारे घर पे आया है।
कुछ तो बात है इस दिल में।
माँ भी हमेशा पी मार्क मस्टर्ड ऑयल में ही खाना बनाती थी, ये आपके लिए।
मैंने कहा था कुछ तो बात है इस दिल में।
P Mark, the mustard specialist since 1933.
सरसों से सरसों।
I don't sugarcoat. I shoot straight and tell you stories the way they need to be told. Unfiltered, unafraid, unmissable. That's how I roll. Watch me, Priyanka Deo, on NDTV World. Namaste.
In Bihar, bahut politics hai. The year's election super final. Can Jai Viru storm the palace? Or will Bihar double engine defend? Fierce fight, electric election. Biggest team, biggest coverage. Battleground Bihar on NDTV 24/7.
वॉल्यूम कम करेंगे? आपका पार्सल फिर से हमारे घर पे आया है।
कुछ तो बात है इस दिल में।
माँ भी हमेशा पीमाक मस्टर्ड ऑयल में ही खाना बनाती थी, ये आपके लिए।
मैंने कहा था कुछ तो बात है इस दिल में।
Bihar, the mustard specialist since 1933.
बरसों से सरसों।
The front lines of
I don't sugarcoat. I shoot straight and tell you stories the way they need to be told. Unfiltered, unafraid, unmissable. That's how I roll. Watch me, Priyanka Deo, on NDTV World. Namaste.
Other opposition parties. They argue, I conclude. They deflect, I drill down. Stop. This isn't a free-for-all. It's a reckoning. No filler, no fog. Only the facts and where they lead. Every night at 9, the case closes because the buck stops here.
I don't sugarcoat. I shoot straight and tell you stories the way they need to be told. Unfiltered, unafraid, unmissable. That's how I roll. Watch me, Priyanka Deo, on NDTV World. Namaste.
What seems settled for me is unfinished business. So I rewind. I pause. I reflect. I dig until what's buried stands up to be counted. Breaking ground, not just headlines, the meaning behind them. This is Breaking Ground with me, Vedika Sood.
Other opposition parties. They argue, I conclude. They deflect, I drill down. Stop. This isn't a free-for-all. It's a reckoning. No filler, no fog. Only the facts and where they lead. Every night at 9, the case closes because the buck stops here.
Welcome back. You're watching NDTV Battleground, our continuing coverage of the post-poll studies that have been put out so far. I've got a fabulous panel of political pundits distilling these numbers for our viewers. What I'll do broadcast is give you a sense of where things stand at the moment by looking at all the post-poll studies that have been put out so far. I want to tell our viewers that Access My India, See Voter, and Poll Pulse have said that they will be putting out their data tomorrow. Till then, we'll show you the polls that have been this evening, all of them in unison predicting a victory for the NDA. It's a very clean, clear victory. Chanakya strategy says the NDA will be between 130 and 138. Remember, 122 is the magic figure in an assembly of 243 MLAs in Bihar. Dainik Bhaskar predicts the NDA will be between 145 and 160. DV Research predicts the NDA will be 130 to 138. JVC says NDA between 135 and 150. The Mahagathbandhan, Chanakya Strategies shows the Gathbandhan touching a 3-digit figure. Dainik Bhaskar shows the Gathbandhan at 73 to 91. DV Research shows Gathbandhan at 83 to 98. And JVC shows the MGB between 88 and 103. The Jan Swaraj is seen as a bit of a cropper, not doing very well. Between 0 and 3 in the Dainik Bhaskar poll, 2 and 4 in the DV Research poll, just 0 and 1 in the JVC poll, and not even opening its account in the Chanakya Strategies poll. So it's quite clear, in unison, the polls on the first sheet are predicting that the NDA is winning. Let's take a look at the second set of numbers that have been put out. Matriz says 147 to 167 for the NDA. P Mark saying 142 to 162 for the NDA. People's Insight projecting 147 to 167 for the NDA, and People's Pulse saying 133 to 159 for the National Democratic Alliance. The Gathbandhan 70 to 90 in Matriz, 76 to 95 in the TIF research poll, 145 to 163. That's what the TIF research data suggests. I want to go across to Jay Mrig, who's just joined us. He's part of the NDTV team, leading cephalogist. Can this go wrong, or do you think there are enough polls and enough insights to suggest that the NDA seems comfortably placed at this moment?
Well, Rahul, good evening. This data seems to be directionally correct. I don't think so many polls would get it in one direction, in unison. Secondly, there is a lot of indirect data evidence to suggest that this could be what is happening. So, for example, even if the NDA government could be losing anti-incumbent votes, what that number of JSP shows that Mr. Prashant Kishore has effectively served as a safety cooker pressure valve to get all the anti-incumbent votes towards himself, a part of it.
But you don't know yet that he's got the anti-incumbent vote. That breakup we don't have just at this moment. Yeah. Where did he get his votes from?
Yeah. But it seems that that has not harmed the NDA. So certainly he served like some sort of a safety valve. The second point is the enhanced turnout. Now, wherever we have had enhanced turnouts like Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, the women have either lagged the men marginally or have been almost the same. Bihar is the rare exception where the women are substantially more than the men. The gender gap in the turnout is substantial, which means that could be working for the NDA.
Okay, let's take a look, in fact, at the gap between men and women when it comes to voting. In the data that's been put out so far, there is a stark gap that we're seeing between the 2020 polling percentages, the 2025 first phase and the second phase. The level of enthusiasm that we've seen is higher than in past polls. Ajit Jha, you traveled with us through some parts of Bihar. This is the maximum voting your state has seen going back to independence. And second phase seems to be even bigger turnout than first phase.
Yes, Rahul, you're absolutely right. In fact, 3 or 4 features of this election make it very different from the previous elections. One is, if you look at the NDA average, it's almost double that of the Mahagathbandhan, which means it is a miracle election like 2010 when the BJP and JDU did its best. It looks almost equivalent to 2010, number one. Number two, the fact that even if the SIR sort of increased the turnout, still on an average about 4 to 5% turnout has increased. So that shows that this is perhaps what we call the wave election, because obviously the NDA seats are very high. So it's what is explaining the wave?
2010 was the last time the NDA did as well, when the JDU by itself was 115 seats. That's the last highest. The question is, can they together beat that? Veer Sanghvi, the fact that you've got an incumbent chief minister who's not all there, there's 20 years of history and therefore anti-incumbency and baggage, and yet Ajit Jha says what we've seen is a wave election. What does that say about the state of the opposition?
Well, assuming the usual qualifications that these figures are right, it says that there is, first of all, a certain amount of affection for this government at the center, because the NDA factor should not be ignored. It isn't just Nitish, but it's also about Nitish. I think Nitish now is just about iconic status in Bihar. People know it's his last election. They didn't want to bring him down. They didn't want to humiliate him. And it also, as you correctly says, shows the failure of the opposition to predict, to show anything that's different, anything that inspires people to find an issue. I don't know how much difference Prashant Kishore is going to make, but whatever votes he does get, I think come from the opposition, which has hurt them.
GVL Narasimha Rao joins us, a senior leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party, also a cephalogist in his own right. GVL, very comfortably placed, happy. Are you confident that this is the way the numbers will be on the evening of the 14th? Or are you still concerned that maybe the pollsters are predicting too much for the NDA? Or is it never?
Rahul, no, I think it's a very, very positive election. Let me give you some observations of my own from my surveys and also from my field visits. I haven't seen an election where even your opposition voters are not critical of you. They are not of the government, of its performance. The strongest supporters and voters of RJD also do not say anything negative against the chief minister or the state government. A very strong pro-incumbency election. I have not seen such an election in any state in the recent past. And I have seen several such elections, as you know. Very strong. And then a very, very strong performance beyond expectations. Ordinary Biharis honestly possibly didn't expect the kind of delivery that this government has done in the past 5 years in terms of roads, in terms of Bijli Sadak Pani, where an average performance would satisfy voters. This performance has been beyond expectations. And certainly they deliver, they credit it to both the Chief Minister and also Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. So double engine Sarkar, the best benefits of double engine government were in evidence in Bihar. And when you have your voters, another interesting thing I've observed, and supporters of your own NDA, normally when you're in government for such a long time, they would have some complaints or other against your performance. Not a single complaint. Your voters become your spokespeople, and your opposition voters are not critical of you. So the only thing that we are battling is some level of anti-incumbency at the local constituency level. And where you have beaten that, you win that seat. So I think certainly there is caste factor. You cannot deny the presence of caste factor in Bihar. So is the case in every other state. We tend to discredit Bihar. I think caste is as big a factor in Kerala, in Karnataka, in my own home state. But in Bihar, it becomes a little simplistic explanation for most of us. But beyond that,
what's the opposition up to? Rahul Gandhi's put out a video. It's the Pookie video. He's with a bunch of Gen Z voters, very young voters, talking to them. They're talking to him. They seem to be having a good time. I'll show you a clip of that video. And then Tehseen Punawala, from what we're gathering, it's possible that Rahul's gone abroad again. Just see that Pookie video. It's a fun video. But the question is, if a leader who's been in power for 20 years cannot be ousted by the young guns, the supposed young guns, Tejasvi and Rahul Gandhi together, then when are they ever going to be able to win an election? It's a very, very serious question.
I think it's a serious question, and I think the opposition parties will have to reflect upon it. I mean, it's all nice that we have these YouTube videos, Pookie and all of that, but is Pookie helping us win Bihar?
What is Pookie?
I don't know. What is Pookie? I don't know what is Pookie.
Let's just see the video for a moment.
Did you just fall short?
You can call me whatever you want.
Sir?
Why are you calling me sir anyway? You said we'll choose a name for you, and now you chose such a boring name, sir. Call me something fun. Bro is cool. Bro is cool. Okay, call me bro then.
We are Gen Zs. I'll give you a few words, sir. You need to tell me the meaning
Now
of
I'm
the
in
Gen
trouble.
Z slang.
Now I'm in trouble.
Cap.
Cap.
Yes.
I'm Pookie.
Riz.
What?
Riz. R-I-Z. R-I-Z. We have a lot of Riz.
Okay, Shubhrashtra has cracked it. She knows what Pookie is. Shubhrashtra, what is Pookie?
Cute.
Cute.
I hope I got it right.
Rashtra's Gen Z.
Pookie is a term of endearment used to describe someone or something that is cute and loved, often as the nickname for a partner, friend, or pet.
This is Google Mata telling you
This is AI. This is
AI
contribution to this.
Chat GPT. He's chat
Not your favorite.
This is Google Chrome.
No, did you Google it or did you chat GPT?
It's on Gemini.
Oh,
it's on the AI tool of Google.
But you know, it's a nice thing that our leader is seen as relatable, cute. But then that's not enough.
No, but in a political context, as they say in Bihar, Veer Sangvi, ye kya hi chal raha hai? You know, there's a real election happening. For a long time, Rahul Gandhi was missing during this campaign, and now if this is the way the numbers look, Tejasvi and Rahul Gandhi just come out looking very shabby.
There's a sense in which Rahul felt, I think, he was unhappy with the terms of the alliance. He was not that invested in Bihar. Otherwise, you can't explain his behavior. This kind of video won't necessarily work in Bihar, but it helps build his national brand as this cute guy who gets on well with young people, which I think is ultimately going to be his constituency. I suspect throughout, he was looking beyond Bihar at the larger national picture.
You know,
no, but there's one second. I don't agree with you, Veer Sangvi. There's a match going on now. You're saying, I don't like the field setting for this match, so I won't bat in this match. I'll do net practice for some match in the future.
Yeah, but he may score a century in the match in the future, I think is the argument. I'm not defending him, I'm only telling you what the argument is.
Rahul, we are going into various analysis of these numbers, provided,
of course,
I'm presuming they are correct. I think there may be a simpler explanation.
Which is?
In 2020, Chirag Paswan and LJP contested mainly against JDU. We all know why. And if I'm not mistaken, hurt the JDU in 25 seats. If the three parties now come together into a pragmatic coalition, that makes all the difference. It becomes a formidable arithmetic to defeat.
No, but of course, but that's why Kanchan Gupta, the opposition's task is to find some solution to break through. They can't say the opposition team is very strong and therefore we won't fight.
No, but you see, you can't really contest an election without having a sense of what the local, cultural, social, political context is all about. Now, Rahul Gandhi goes on a fishing trip with the Mallas. Now, your polls, if the poll, as Ashok says, provided the numbers hold, where is the Malla vote, which was supposed to sort of be the booster rocket? So you get trapped into doing things.
No, but at least he tried to get the Malla vote. He's trying to do more than MY. That's the effort he made.
You know, Rahul, parties exist to win elections, not experiment with elections.
Rahul,
so it's not a charity house that you are running.
No, but what point? No, one second. What point do these cute videos serve? What's really going on here?
Can I just be brutally honest? And I really want the Congress to win. It's 15 years we are not in government. Right? I've hit my 40s. I do visualize myself someday being in parliament, right? In the next 2029, Rahul will be almost 60. It's all cute, but we have to win elections. If we believe genuinely the constitution is danger, you media guys are bad, everything has to change, we have to make the country Hakuna Matata, and we have to get utopia in India, we need to be in power. And there is no other alternative. And for that, we need to be hardcore. We cannot start an election, have a tempo, go away, then come back, then go away. We have to keep fighting. And there is no other way. You have to get up every morning and say, what do I do to think like Modi and defeat Modi? That is just the way politics
like
is
Modi,
done.
I have a theory. The people who, just one line, the people who understand Pookie care more about the New York mayor election than the Bihar election.
No, that's true.
See,
did you know Pookie before this?
I had to rely on Chetan Bhagat, the kind of person who uses Pookie.
Rahul, a very serious statistical point. With about 8% of the votes, the Congress has bargained for almost a quarter of the assembly in the alliance, 61 on 243 seats. Now, there are other parties in the past which got much smaller shares in alliance, like the BSP in UP, like the BJP in Maharashtra, yet they put up a much more valiant fight. The question, therefore, is why is Mr. Rahul Gandhi not putting up that valiant fight?
Why is he not doing it?
That's for all to
One guy who fought, I don't know how it's going to end, is Prashant Kishore. You can't take away the fact that he fought. Okay? He was out there in every single way fighting. I've got Saurabh Singh, national spokesperson of the Jan Swaraj party. Saurabh, welcome. The post-poll studies don't seem very favorable towards the Jan Swaraj. It starts at 0 and ends at 5. Nobody saying any more than 5. Prashant Kishore told me Arsh ya Farsh. It seems more likely the floor than the ceiling.
Okay, good evening, Rahulji. First of all, Bihar is not easy to crack for anyone. For that matter, I'll give you 3 reasons why this exorbitant number will surprise everyone on 14th. The first is, if you see last election and this one, there is an increase of around 13% in youth participation. Last time it was around 58%, this time it's 71%. I'm talking about the first phase. Second phase number, we've not been able to, calculate. Second, the most important is this time around, in last 15 to 20 years, Bihar has never seen election in and around Chhath Puja. Around 50 to 55 lakh migrant people had come to Bihar. Generally, they were bound to return because it was linked to their, jobs and everything. This time around, they stick inside the Bihar. And our estimate is around 40 lakh people have voted additionally. And these numbers will reflect you both in terms of women voter and the person who's earning, the food for the home. So he's the big influencer. Third, and the most important thing, you are calculating 1.41 crore women who have got 10,000. You've missed the 2.1 crore women who haven't got this 10,000 rupees. And I'll tell you once again.
But that's not really how it played out. We'd gone into some farms in Purnia, spoken to women. 8 out of 12 women, Ajiji, you were with us, had got the 10,000 rupees. The others weren't resentful. They actually felt, inko mil gaya, hame bhi mil jayega. It's only a matter of time.
Yes, Rahulji. And
do you think GVL Narasimha Rao, that was the game changer? Because if it was, then I can guarantee to you that if you pay 10,000 in Bihar, you'll have to pay more in Assam. You'll have to pay more before every election, because then that unfortunately becomes the standard expectation of the voters, that you have to cash though, vote low.
Rahul, the way this may have added a little more edge to the BJP or the NDA, I won't deny that. But this was a significant factor or a major factor? No, I would disagree, because women vote was always more favorable towards the NDA and the BJP. They certainly have a huge tilt towards both CM Nitish Kumar and Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. So this may have been, and this is not what has been promised is up to 2 lakhs. This amount will increase. This will be a sort of a loan that they will have to repay. This is some kind of a self-employment enterprise. What else do you want? How do you expect actually Bihar to grow? I think this is the best thing that can ever happen to Bihar. When all these people start their micro enterprise.
Spinning it very well, but it's basically 10,000 rupees in the account.
Rahul, please, on the migrants thing. What is a very close example? West Bengal has never witnessed such huge migration out of the state of the working age population. Mamata Banerjee made this grand announcement, come back to the state, I will give you 5,000 rupees each of you per month. Now NDTV reports this, okay, I'll just read it out, and it's from the NDTV. We are giving rupees 5,000 to Mamata Banerjee. You should immediately run away from Bengal. Every migrant worker earns 50,000 to rupees 1.5 lakhs per month. Now that is also true for the migrant workers from Bihar. They are they are not.
They are assume that migrants are always laborers.
Or every migrant is not a rickshaw puller or a rickshaw driver.
Of course not.
There are engineers, there are people in the service industry, there are people who work in hotels, in restaurants, everywhere. Now they are not going to crib that.
Okay, Ajit Jha has a question for Saurabh Singh. Go on.
So, Saurabh Singh, not only did the Jan Swaraj proved to be a disaster in this election. The fact that Prashant Kishore went to town saying that Nitish will never get more than 25 seats. What we are looking at is a wave for Nitish Kumar. And he kept saying, if he gets more than 25 seats, I'll give up politics. That's a typical Prashant Kishore style. Now, will he give up politics if the exit polls are right?
So I'll tell you what, let's wait for the 14th, and we are still holding to that. First of all, you are saying that Prashant Kishore, everybody is fortunately or unfortunately fighting on the same pitch where Prashant was, working in last 3 years. Now, Amit Shah ji had to talk about flood and 25 sugar mills after the first stage of election. Have you forgotten that? And we are the one, for the first time in Bihar, Bihar is not fighting on the basis of Agda Pichda and Hindu Muslim. This is the contribution of Jan Suraj and Prashant Kishore.
No, so it matters only to a certain extent who sets the agenda. What matters is who wins the match. I want to go across to Shahnawaz Hussain, senior leader of the BJP. Shahnawaz साहब, welcome to NDTV. सेकेंड फेज की पोलिंग के बाद आपको अलग अलग जगहों से जहां पे आज पोलिंग हुई 122 सीटों पर क्या फीडबैक मिला? आपके हिसाब से बीजेपी और जेडीयू अभी कहां खड़े?
नहीं, मैं तो खुद देख कर आया हूं। देखिए, मैंने खुद ही वोट किया है, निशान देख रहे होंगे आप। और मैं सुपौल में था, वहां से मैं पूर्णिया आया, तो सुपौल, अररिया, पूर्णिया क्रॉस किया। बीच में मैं कुछ लोगों से मिला भी हूं। एक जगह चाय पी मैंने जलालगढ़ में, वहाँ लोगों से पूछा। एक जगह और अररिया में रुका, फरविशगंज के पास। तो जिस तरह रिपोर्टर घूमते हैं, मैं तो रूट पे था क्योंकि मुझे जहाज़ पकड़ना था। तो मैंने चाय के बहाने रुक कर पूछा, तो सब जगह एक तरफा पोल हो रहा था। और मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ कि कई लोग कह रहे हैं, कल भी मैंने आपसे बात की थी, जो परसेंटेज बढ़ रहा है, क्योंकि पहले जो वोटर थे जो डेथ कर गए थे या जिनके नाम 2 जगह थे, वो वोटर थे, तो वो अब नहीं है, तो जेन्युइन वोटर है, बोनाफाइड वोटर है। तो इसलिए वोट परसेंटेज ज़्यादा दिख रहा है, लेकिन ज़्यादातर लोग वोट कर रहे थे, अच्छा वोट कर रहे थे। और मैंने बहुत दिनों के बाद देखा कि लोग सरकार इतने साल से रहते हुए सरकार के पक्ष में वोट कर रहे थे। और हमने तो अपने बूथ पर भी किसी से नहीं पूछा, लेकिन लोगों ने कहा तीर है, नीतीश कुमार है। तो माहौल एक तरफा है। और देखिए, महागठबंधन तो कैंपेन में ही वो कहीं नहीं था। तेजस्वी यादव का आज मुझे मुकेश सहनी मिल गए थे हवाई जहाज़ में, तेजस्वी यादव के हेलीकॉप्टर के साथी। और उनसे मैंने पूछा कि आप कितनी सभा करते थे? तो उन्होंने कहा 15, 17, 18। तो मैंने कहा उसमें करते क्या थे? बोले बस हाथ उठाते थे, माइक पकड़ते थे, 2 लाइन बोलते थे, फिर चल देते थे। तो आप ये समझिए कि वो ऐसे बिहेव कर रहे थे जैसे वो कोई फिल्म स्टार हों, ऐसे ऐसे हाथ दिखाएंगे, लोग उनकी बात कर लेंगे। इन्होंने कोई बात नहीं रखी, एक दिन में 15 सभा कर ली। इनके यहाँ कैंपेन पूरी तरह फेल हो गया।
आपके पास विशाल आर्मी है, उनके पास नहीं है, वो तेजस्वी अकेला है, तो उसके पास क्या ऑप्शन है? करनी पड़ेगी 15 सभा। आपके पास इतनी विशाल
अकेला सेना है। क्यों? अब्दुल माई समीकरण है, तो एक हेलीकॉप्टर पे अब्दुल बारी सिद्दीकी क्यों नहीं है? क्या होता है?
Okay, let me put that question to Tariq Anwar, member of parliament from Katihar, joins us on this broadcast, senior leader of the Congress party. Tariq साहब,
तारिक अनवर साहब,
ये जो सारे एग्जिट पोल का डेटा आ रहा है, शाहनवाज जी कह रहे जहां उन्होंने रुक के चाय पी, वो तो और पता चल रहा है कि जेडीयू और बीजेपी की लहर है। If this is the way it ends on the 14th, this is not an ordinary victory. It's a massive sweep for the NDA if it turns out this way on the 14th. Where do you think the Gadbandhan went wrong, Tariq साहब?
मेरा ये मानना है कि एग्ज़िट पोल एग्जैक्ट पोल नहीं होता है। हम लोगों ने पहले भी कई बार देखा है कि एग्ज़िट पोल गलत साबित हुए हैं, लेकिन फिर भी मैं इसको एक इंडिकेशन मानता हूँ। और अगर ये एग्ज़िट पोल एग्जैक्ट पोल में अगर तब्दील होता है तो हमारे लिए चिंता का विषय है। और ऐसा लगता है कि तब हम कहीं ना कहीं जनता को कन्विंस करने में, उनको अपने साथ लेने में कामयाब नहीं हुए हैं।
पर क्यों कामयाब नहीं हुए? You know, it happened in Haryana, happened later in Maharashtra, now again in Bihar. Why do you think the opposition is repeatedly failing to best the NDA and to find a way of beating the Modi machine?
देखिए, अब वो तो अभी फ़ौरन कोई रिएक्शन देना मेरा ख्याल है मुनासिब नहीं होगा। और रिज़ल्ट आने के बाद उसका पूरा उसकी समीक्षा, उसका हम लोग देखेंगे कहाँ पर कमी रह गई, कहाँ महागठबंधन में जो हमारे कैंपेन था उसमें क्या कमज़ोरी रह गई, इन सब चीज़ों की समीक्षा होनी चाहिए और होगी, मुझे उम्मीद है, और हम देखेंगे अगर ये रिज़ल्ट में तब्दील हुआ तो। लेकिन अभी भी मुझे उम्मीद है कि
नीतीश जी को ही सीएम बनाएंगे या 14 आते आते नेताओं के स्वर थोड़े बदल जाएंगे इस सवाल पे?
नहीं कहा, हमने कभी कहा, अमित शाह जी ने खुद ही कहा कि मुख्यमंत्री और प्रधानमंत्री का पद खाली नहीं है, जनता मैंडेट देगी तो ज़रूर उनके नेतृत्व में सरकार बनेगी, जो प्रक्रिया है वो पूरी होगी। आपसे भी इंटरव्यू में कहा है। मैं तो मानता हूँ कि जो माहौल है, मैं बहुत दिन से कैंपेन करता हूँ राहुल जी, और मैंने कभी भी इतना बिखरा हुआ कैंपेन महागठबंधन का नहीं देखा। कभी ऐसा नहीं देखा कि वो आपस में सीटों पे लड़ रहे हैं, अपने सिटिंग एमएलए, अपने सिटिंग मिनिस्टर का टिकट काट रहे हैं। और मैंने कई जगह देखा कि ये बेमन से चुनाव लड़ रहे थे। मुझे लग रहा है ये कांग्रेस और राजद में ये था कि एक दूसरे की पार्टी फिनिश करनी है, वो हमसे लड़ ही कहाँ रहे थे। तो पूरे कैंपेन में, जैसे मैंने कहा, आपने एक लाइन कह दी कि उनके यहाँ तो तेजस्वी अकेला नेता है। महागठबंधन में तारिक अनवर साहब, शकील अहमद साहब, अब्दुल बारी सिद्दीकी, अगर आप माई समीकरण बात करते हैं तो ये बड़े बड़े एस्टेब्लिश लीडर हैं। लेकिन इन लोगों की भी कहाँ मीटिंग्स देखी मैंने। वो तेजस्वी यादव ने 2
साहब, आपकी हुई कोई जॉइंट रैली तेजस्वी के साथ?
एक हेलीकॉप्टर
आप थे तेजस्वी के साथ मंच पर? वो कह रहे हैं शाहनवाज हुसैन करा तो लड़ा ही रहे हैं, वो कह रहे हैं कि आपका यूज नहीं किया उन्होंने ठीक से।
शाहनवाज साहब नहीं, ठीक है, मैंने ज़्यादा समय अपनी कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी में दिया, ये बात सही है, लेकिन कई जगह हम लोग साथ भी रहे, और तेजस्वी जी भी रहे, राहुल जी भी रहे, प्रियंका गांधी भी रही, सब लोग मंच शेयर किया है, ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं किया है। लेकिन अब जो इंडिकेशन है वो तो हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि उसमें हम लोगों को काफ़ी पीछे दिखाया जा रहा है। लेकिन फिर भी हमें उम्मीद है कि अगर हम लोगों ने इशू सही उठाया है, जो कि बेरोज़गारी का, भ्रष्टाचार का, पलायन का, गरीबी का, सब जो इश्यूज़ है ये बहुत हर इंसान को छूता है, और बिहार की जो दुर्दशा है वो तो सबके सामने है। लेकिन उसके बावजूद भी अगर एनडीए को समर्थन मिलता है या उनको सरकार बनाने की हैसियत दी जाती है, तो मौका दिया जाता है, तो ये बहुत
Okay, Shahnawaz Hussain, thank you for joining us. He's not saying so, but Tariq Anwar Veer seems almost resigned to his fate, virtually to the extent that
he came on the show thinking he had to make a stand, but he knew what was going to happen. He does not seem like he's arguing too much about the
No, because he also knows the reality on the ground. He's in Katihar, he's seen what's happening around him.
Yeah. He's not a happy bunny, no?
No, and also the fact that the point that Shahnawaz Hussain ji makes, that they simply couldn't get their campaign together.
Yeah.
At no point did it seem that there was a cogent, potent fighting machine trying to unseat the NDA from power.
Yeah. I also think they have another problem, which is there was a time when all psephologists used to talk about anti-incumbency. What you are now seeing is a phenomenon is pro-incumbency. It's becoming more and more difficult to dislodge governments, partly because...
Only if they are NDA governments. If they are opposition governments, like the Congress in Chhattisgarh, they got dislodged quite easily.
True. But the NDA generally, you could argue it's because of electoral factors, the election commission, as the Congress does. You could argue it's because of welfare schemes. You mentioned the 10,000 rupees, but whatever it is, if you are going to break out of that rut where the NDA wins every time, you have to be imaginative. You can't afford to fight with each other. You have to come up with something.
You have to fight like your life depends on it. You can't be fighting with each other.
Which clearly they didn't, no?
Yeah. No, and Rahul, the larger point, they always said that the BJP had made a science out of winning.
Yeah.
It has a huge electoral machinery, a very scientific way to organize the campaign. Now, many of those replicas are out of the shadows of the BJP. Many of them have run campaigns for the Congress.
Yeah.
Yet, why is the Congress not able to replicate the success of the BJP? That's point number one. Point number two, did Mr. Rahul Gandhi overplay his hand in trying to seek a larger share in the bargain with the RJD for seats, and therefore...
No, but because he didn't get more, he apparently got upset, and that's why he went abroad.
So effectively, he harmed the cause of the alliance. That's something congressmen should be answering for.
See, if you look at the coalitions, and this is true for many states, not just Bihar, but Bihar still really is a Lalu and Lalu's family versus Nitish fight at its core. the BJP adds value to Nitish. The Congress does not do anything for Tejaswi.
Which is what I said. It's 25% is too much to give the Congress.
Ravi Shankar Ravi joins us. He's a spokesperson of Tejaswi's party, the RJD. Ravi Shankar Ravi ji, तेजस्वी ने चॉपर तो खूब घुमाया, लेकिन जो डेटा आया है अभी तक उसके हिसाब से it's the NDA that's very comfortably placed to win. According to all the exit polls, they're all singing the same tune.
No, I mean, I do not agree with the exit polls.
He doesn't agree.
I think the plank on which this election was fought, it is the Mahagathbandhan which had set the plank, which was jobs, which was employment, which was situation of law and order. And Tejaswiji's appeal to the youth and his connect with the youth, particularly the first-time voters, I believe they have in our support and they have voted for us. And we are in a comfortable situation. And we will...
Jay Mrug has a question for Jay.
Mr. Ravi, I would actually like to allude to the larger coalition building abilities of the Congress itself. In the southern states like Tamil Nadu and Kerala, Tamil Nadu, where the Congress gracefully accepts a very, very junior partner position, even in terms of number of seats. In Kerala, where it gracefully gives out seats to its allies in spite of being a senior partner, the alliance meets with some success, a fair degree of success. Don't you think the Congress should now be showing the generosity in states like Bihar and UP to ensure the success of the UP and the Mahagathbandhan?
I think in any coalition, the coalition partners always try to, have more number of seats to fight in the elections. And this is what happened in Mahagathbandhan also in this election. And that is one of the reasons which was very evident that on a few seats there have been friendly fight. And what Sahnawaz Hussain Sahab was saying, I think in any coalition there is infighting, and he was projecting the infighting of the NDA onto us, which was not evident in the public sphere because they could settle comfortably on the seats and there was no friendly fight for them. But there is always some kind of infighting, some kind of conflict,
Tehseen Punawala, could the Gathbandhan have done something differently to try and change the outcome, or do you think just at the starting point, the caste arithmetic was so favorable towards the NDA that the election in many ways was pre-decided?
So I had told Tejaswi this, that for him to win and go beyond the 35, one more caste will have to be added. One more, preferably an OBC caste would have to be added. And that wasn't just Mukesh Saini ji's caste. So that had to be added. Apart from that, I think what the Congress made one fundamental mistake in was this was too much of an attack on again the issues of the Constitution, the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister and the Constitution were not the issues in the Bihar elections. I think the Congress's traditional vote bank, which it's lost, it has to try and get it back. Some of the upper caste, some of the Dalit vote bank, which has moved towards the BJP.
No, but this is a very important point, Veer, that Tehseen makes, that harping about the Constitution and issues of national significance in an assembly context, this is a local election. People want to know what is their MLA going to do for them. Is Rahul reading the script wrong?
No, I got the impression throughout the campaigns, I just said that in his mind he'd written Bihar off. He didn't care that much about what would happen. He would use it to make national points, which he hoped to resound with his...
Now, I want to go across to Manoj Singh. Manoj Singh is joining us now. He's from Matriz. It's one of the pollsters whose data we put out. So I want to welcome Manoj. Manoj, Aye, welcome. Let's show Manoj's data and then he can explain this to our viewers. So if you just stay a little on the side, leave some space in the middle. 147 to 167 is what Manoj is predicting for the NDA. The Gathbandhan at just between 70 and 90. So all the Gathbandhan parties together less than what the RJD got by itself last time. And Jan Swaraj just between 0 and 2. Basis क्या है आपके calculation का? How have you come to what looks like a sweeping mandate for the NDA?
इस बार का जो चुनाव है, ये चुनाव नीतीश वर्सेज महागठबंधन के ऊपर में है। महागठबंधन इसलिए कि जिस चीज़ को महागठबंधन ने लोगों के बीच में लेकर आया कि नीतीश के वो जो एज है, जो भूल रहे हैं ये है, और वही उनके लिए हथियार साबित।
कैसे?
कैसे कि महिलाएं जो कोर वोटर थी इनके महागठबंधन एनडीए की, उसमें महिलाओं का सबसे बड़ा योगदान है। और इस बार आप देख रहे हैं कि पोल में सबसे ज़्यादा किसी का उत्सुकता है तो महिलाओं का है। लंबी कतारें लगी हुई हैं, पोल चल रहे हैं और लोगों का इमेज खराब नहीं है। जैसे इन लोगों ने कहा कि हमें रोजगार देंगे, लेकिन देने वाला कौन है, उसका इमेज जनता के बीच में कैसा है, तो लोग सोचते हैं कि अरे ये तो लालू शासन वाली बात हो रही है।
नहीं, पर आपको लगा कि जो उनकी इतनी तबियत नासाज है, जो तमाम कहानियां बिहार में, उसका कोई नेगेटिव नहीं इम्पैक्ट हुआ? आप कह रहे हैं कि बल्कि फायदा है।
हाँ, महिलाओं ने ये कहा कि ये मेरा समय है नीतीश का कर्ज उतारने का। चूंकि 4 इलेक्शन आप देखेंगे, रिजर्वेशन भी उन्होंने दिया, महिलाओं को 50% निकाय चुनाव में, उन्होंने रिक्शा साइकिल भी दिया, महिलाओं को स्कूल ड्रेस दिया, ये किया, और अभी जाकर 10,000 रुपया दिया, और उन्होंने वादा भी किया कि मैं 2 लाख रुपये तक भी इसको सहायता के रूप में दूंगा। तो महिलाओं को लगा कि जो पहले से मुझे करता आ रहा है और जो ये बोल रहे हैं, महागठबंधन के लोग बोल रहे हैं, तो वो 20 साल का शासन जो उनका था, जैसे अभी भी 60 साल का शासन कांग्रेस के लिए परेशान करता है, वो समझ नहीं पाता कि उससे कैसे छुटकारा पाए। वही महागठबंधन में था कि हम कैसे इनसे छुटकारा पाए। आप देखेंगे तेजस्वी के पूरे कैंपेन में लालू यादव के शासन का कोई वर्णन नहीं है। वर्णन कहाँ होता था? वो 18 महीना जो नीतीश के नेतृत्व में उन्होंने शासन किया था। तो यहाँ लोगों के अंदर विश्वास जो नीतीश के प्रति बना था, और तेजस्वी कभी भी आप देखेंगे बहुत एग्रेसिव नहीं हो पाए, उनके शासन को लेकर काउंटर नहीं कर पाए, तो यहाँ पे हुआ। और दूसरी
जन स्वराज का बताइए कि जन स्वराज को आप दिखा रहे 0 से 2, तो आपके हिसाब से कोई इंपैक्ट दिखा आपके पोल में कि नहीं?
मुझे लग रहा है कि यदि जन स्वराज इससे आगे बढ़ता तो एनडीए जो फोल्डर है वो काफी नीचे आता, क्योंकि इनके पास जो वोट आ रहा था वो फॉरवर्ड क्लास से आ रहा था। और मेरा मानना है कि ये जो रुकावट हुआ है कि फॉरवर्ड क्लास वोटर टूटकर महागठबंधन में नहीं गया है।
कैसे तो रुका? कैसे? क्योंकि बीच में पोल्स में लग रहा था कि बढ़ रहा है जन स्वराज, पीछे कैसे हुआ?
नहीं, वो उस समय जब नाराजगी दिख रही थी, 6 महीना पीछे की आप देखिएगा कि नीतीश को लेकर स्टेट में पूरी नाराजगी दिख रही थी। इसके बाद ये सारा हुआ था, और फॉरवर्ड क्लास के जो वोटर थे उनको लग रहा था कि अब नीतीश कुमार का शासन को समाप्त हो रहा है, और महिलाओं के लिए वैसा कुछ विशेष चीज नहीं दिख रहा था। इसी बीच उन्होंने लेकर 10,000 रुपये लेकर आए, आंगनबाड़ी केंद्र के महिलाओं को दिया, जो रसोइयाँ थी उनको उन्होंने, सारे ये चीज़ें जब होने लगे, डिलीवर होने लगा, तो लोगों के नीतीश के प्रति जो ये प्रभाव पड़ा, तो जो फॉरवर्ड क्लास वोटे जो जाकर जन स्वराज के पास बैठे थे वो धीरे धीरे वापस। होता क्या है आप याद रखिए, 2020 का उत्तर प्रदेश का इलेक्शन को याद रखिए कि ये बोला जाता था कि ब्राह्मण योगी आदित्यनाथ से नाराज है, लेकिन जैसे जैसे चुनाव नजदीक आता रहा वो ब्राह्मण एनडीए के फोल्डर में वापस आते।
Let's look at the Matri's vote share. It will give you a sense of how the seats are actually translating into votes. You're predicting 48% of the vote for the NDA, up from 37 originally and 42 in the current formation. Gadbandhan you're saying is 37, which is where they were. So the big story here is that you're essentially saying the Gadbandhan Jaimrig added no votes. That's what Manoj's data is saying. Gadbandhan was at 37, they're still at 37. NDA was at 42, they've gone up to 48 according to his poll.
Yeah, I would quite agree with those numbers. I go back to the experience in Maharashtra. After the very similar pattern, the women doles were doled out just before the assembly election. In Maharashtra, the NDA touched a peak of 49.3% votes. So 48 here looks absolutely plausible. Now the other point which I was making, PK as a safety valve, that 5% is something that PK has prevented from going to MGB. That would have been 42, to have made the contest much more closer.
No, but you can't assume that all 5% came
which
from
is
the
by and large
Gadbandhan.
the expectation, as he was saying कि वो अधिकतर सवर्ण वोट था जो बीजेपी से छूट रहा था. So in a way, safety valve, but 48, 49, Madhya Pradesh again, 50 with the women dole schemes is the sort of number you can achieve.
This then, Kanchan Gupta, seems to be becoming a template. Transfer money either in monthly installments or in one big tranche to the women voters. It's worked in the last several elections and helps you win.
Well, you make it sound as if, somebody is gifting you money to vote for you.
It is.
It's not. Second. See, in our system, in our society, when a woman gets money into her, first of all, for her to have her own bank account, 2, to get money into that account, 3, to have control over that money. I mean, it empowers women like never before. I mean, you have to see how women react in Madhya Pradesh every time you have Shivraj Singh Chauhan going out into the public. I mean, similarly, you have to see people reacting in, say, Maharashtra now, or in Bihar, as we have seen the numbers stacking up. And again, I repeat, you make it sound only as if they are voting for the money. No,
it's the whole package.
There are hidden factors.
No, of course.
Like water on the tap, I think plays a huge role. The better public health indicators, they play a huge
No, but
role.
some of that, my argument is, some of that Veer Sanghvi gets factored in, you take it for granted once the water is there. This 10,000 rupees is like instant gratification, is that sugar rush. You get it and you feel happy, and it to some extent changes how you feel about the way you're placed right now.
I think you're right, Rahul. It is a new template. Every incumbent government before the elections will hand out something to women, to other people. Otherwise, people don't vote. If voters get used to that, there are consequences for Indian democracy and for Indian elections. But we've come a long way. If you look at Manmohan Singh's first term as finance minister, we thought his biggest contribution was the liberalization. As prime minister, his basic contribution was Narega. When they introduced Narega, if you remember, every opposition party, including the BJP, opposed it and said you're making people lazy, you're handing out things. Well, guess what? Everyone is now doing it.
Ashok Malik, you get voters used to this. It's a trap. It's a welfare trap, and there's no way out. And Bihar is the most impoverished state in the country.
Look, two things here. One, in a time of very poor job creation, not just in India but worldwide, the fact is parties are going to have to resort to welfare. Okay. Now, what welfare
this is what the PM said won't happen. He said he's opposed to Revdis.
What welfare is justified and what welfare is not justified is a matter of subjectivity. I appreciate that. Okay, and different parties will disagree or agree. I would also say I agree with Kanchan that it's not that people take the money and immediately vote. Let's give people more credit. In the Karnataka election, the last Karnataka election, both parties, the opposition Congress and the incumbent BJP, promised cash transfers, promised welfare. Okay, but the BJP was still unseated because it was seen as perhaps crossing the threshold.
But Chetan, it's a trap. Once Indian politics gets stuck in that chakravyuh, I don't know what the way out is.
See, it's two ways to look at it. One is, of course, it is a race to the bottom. It's fiscal irresponsibility. But at the same time, India is growing 6-8% and it's not trickling down properly. You know, there are some segments which have made a lot of money, done very well. And that's not just the super elite. 5-10% of the population has seen a lot of, and they really like this government for that. But there's a lot of India which gets left out in the growth, and this is one way
Let's take a look at the gender breakup, because this, I think, is one of the important things that comes out of the Matrice data. The skew towards the NDA, the overwhelming, unquestionable skew in his data. 52% of the men said they voted NDA, 65%. But just basic maths, if your vote share is 48 and men is 52, women is 65, the vote share should actually be much more. At a base, it should be 52. It should be actually 58, 59. आपने मैथ्स की कैसे?
अब उस पे आते हैं. देखिए जो 52% है,
अगर 52% पुरुष और 65% महिलाएं बोल रही कि एनडीए को दिया, तो आपका 59% वोट शेयर हुआ, तो 48 कैसे हुआ?
फिर आप ध्यान दीजिए, ये विमेंस वोट में कैसे वोट शेयर हुआ है. आप इसके साथ मैच कराएंगे तो हमेशा 100 से ऊपर चला जाएगा. मैं क्या दिया हूँ, वीमेन का वोट कितना है, उसमें एनडीए को कितना आया है. मुझे लग रहा था आप यहाँ गड़बड़.
नहीं, मैं वही तो बोल रहा हूँ. मनोज जी, राहुल कह रहे हैं 52 is the base. Let's assume they are men and women. 52 is the base. So whatever is the average vote share, then has to be above 52. How is the average vote share 48? Basic maths.
एक्चुअली मैच का ये परसेंटेज है कि जो 52% ये दे रहे 52% और 36% इनके गठबंधन के साथ जा रहे हैं. इसमें महिलाओं का वोट यदि नहीं मिलता तो जितने मार्जिनल सीट इनके साथ फंस रही थी, 52 के बाद भी मार्जिनल सीट बनी थी, तो वो चीजें डिफाइन नहीं कर पाए.
जय मृग हैज अ क्वेश्चन फॉर यू. जय,
नहीं, मैं केवल राहुल के सवाल को आगे लेके जा रहा हूँ. राहुल के सवाल को मैं बहुत साधारण तरीके से बताता हूँ. अगर 100 पुरुष थे, उसमें से 52 ने कहा हम एनडीए को वोट दें, और 100 महिलाएं थी, उसमें से 65 ने कहा हम एनडीए को वोट दें, तो दोनों का औसत कि कहीं ना कहीं 58 होना चाहिए, तो राहुल का ये कहना है कि वो 58 वोट शेयर होना चाहिए।
वोट परसेंटेज एक विधानसभा से नहीं आता है। जहां बड़ी मार्जिनल सीटें होती हैं वहां जो पोल होता है उसके साथ ये परसेंटेज।
I'll just explain to our viewers what I think has happened without getting lost in technicalities. This is the raw vote share that he's picked up in his sample. Then he's factored it down basis the various calculations that have been put in to actually come at the 48% vote share. Anyway, it's his numbers. There's no point in us getting geeky about it. But statistically, there's an argument which we can have off air if you're interested. Right now, this is not the opportunity. Let me look at the matriz caste data. Here again, an important argument comes out. 69% of general upper caste voting for the NDA. Gadbandhan only 15%. 78% of the Muslims voting for the Gadbandhan. ये आपको लगता है कि एक बहुत बड़ा फैक्टर था कि तेजस्वी को, राहुल गांधी को लग रहा था कि दलित बड़ी संख्या में वोट देंगे, वो एक्चुअली ज़्यादा वोट तो एनडीए को पड़ा है।
ये दो कारण से हुआ। एक तो जैसे इनका अपना तालमेल मुकेश सहनी को लेकर, जीतन मांझी को लेकर, और इधर तेजस्वी को इनको लेकर, तेज प्रताप को एलजेपी को लेकर जो ये इनका समीकरण बना था, उसके कारण से ये सारी चीजें हुई थी कि शेड्यूल कास्ट इनके। और दूसरा जो इन्होंने नीचे स्तर पे जो नीतीश जी ने सेंट्रल की जो पॉलिसी थी उसको उन्होंने डिलीवर किया है। और वहाँ पे आकर महागठबंधन में देखेंगे कि जिस तरीके से मुकेश सहनी को लेकर काफ़ी विरोधाभास रहा, जिस तरीके से उन्होंने प्रेशर पॉलिटिक्स किया, तो कहीं ना कहीं लोगों को लगा कि ये यहीं तक सीमित है। जैसे आप जाएंगे तो मांझी जो है 6 सीट पे लड़ रहे हैं, उनका परफॉर्मेंस देखेंगे तो 4 सीटों जीते। मुझसे पूछिएगा तो मैं मानूंगा कि एनडीए फोल्डर में सबसे ज़्यादा स्ट्राइक रेट किसी का इस बार बेटर होगा तो जीतन मांझी जी का होगा। और तेजस्वी इनका क्या कहा जाता है, एलजेपी का परफॉर्मेंस 29 सीटों पर लड़ने के बाद भी उनका परफॉर्मेंस कम हो रहा, तो उनके गठबंधन में सबसे लो
29 सीट। But all right, thank you Manoj for joining us. I just want a quick final round of word from all our guests before we wrap up. I'll start with Kanchan Gupta. What would you look out for the most on the 14th? What do you think is the one factor which could change between now and then?
A massive Muslim consolidation. If that were to happen in a sufficient number of seats over and above which would have otherwise gone to Mahagathbandhan, then that would change the situation quite a lot. But as was pointed out, you can't have multiple polls giving the same direction. Now, it's a question of numbers. The numbers may change, the numbers may go up, go down, come down. But I somehow sense, having seen so many polls in my life, this trend is going to hold unless there is, as I said, there's a huge upset that the Muslim consolidation is so big in seats over and above which Mahagathbandhan was expected to win, and then that propels it upwards.
Ashok Malik, what would you be looking out for most on the 14th?
What could change, plausibly what could change from these? I would say perhaps Prashant Kishore is being undercounted. That's one factor. If he is being undercounted indeed, and if he is hurting the NDA, then that could change things. I think the consolidation of Muslims and Yadavs behind the RJD is complete anyway. The question is, can they add a third community? From this, we're not seeing any third sizable community being added.
Chetan?
I think NDA could win very big because the vote shares that are being said, predicting seats are very difficult on exit polls. If the vote share is what it is, NDA could win very big. However, the only thing is sometimes people lie in exit polls. A lot of times people come out and people lie. Like, I don't know if Muslims will say the correct where they voted to a guy who's there. I don't know if that kind of trust exists in Bihar. So you could have a situation where all these polls face the same problem. People don't
hold that analysis from the opposition's lens. Tehseen, what would they be looking out for or hoping for the 14th?
Two things that the Yadav Muslim consolidation has added some layer of the Dalits, because if the Paswan vote is added with Nitish ji and the EBC vote, there would be other sections of Dalit communities that would ideally like to come with the Congress, Mahagathbandhan and the RJD. The second thing, the Congress has been able to pull some of its traditional upper caste vote into the Mahagathbandhan, as a result of which that 37% suddenly becomes about 41%, and BJP's 48%, the NDA's, has come down to about 45-46%. And then, as Kanchan Das said, the conversion of seats, because the the Muslims have consolidated, then adds up in favor of the Congress Mahagathbandhan. But that is too many ifs happening in an election, which seems difficult.
I would very seriously want to study the geographical reconfiguration of constituencies with Election Commission data and see where exactly did gender play a role and where did the EBC communities played a role this time. Because OBCs, I think,
look from a psephological lens on the 14th, what would you look out for? What would you be telling viewers to look out for?
3 specific deviations, if they happen, might alter this result. First, the performance of the MGB in the riverine belt, where the Malla vote is there in substantial numbers. 2, as he rightly pointed out, the substantially high turnout in the Simachal belt. And 3, if we've gone through the candidate list, there are a lot of former Jansangis that the Jan Swaraj has fielded. I'm really curious to know how they perform. So that's another X factor for me. On
some of those Jansangis were brought back to the BJP fold as well. They worked very hard on it. We're out of time. I want to get a final word from Ajit Jha on, after having travelled, written as much as you have, what would you want viewers to look out for on the foot?
Look at the percentage swing. Last time, 0.3% Mahagathbandhan had lost. This time, the poll that we saw, 11%. That is a massive swing for an incumbent after 20 years, which, as I was trying to make the point, this is a clear-cut wave election.
37 doesn't have LJP. If you add LJP, then the starting point is 42, but it's still a 6% swing, which is big. Yes, Veer Sanghvi, final words. What would you look out for the most on the 14th?
I think this trend is pretty hard to defeat. It looks quite clear. However, I think exit polls often are poor at picking up regional variations because they pick few constituencies. There are also these polls. I'm not sure how much they've got of today's voting. I suspect it happened too early for them when they came up with the results too early to count on it.
Which is why you need to come back to NDTV tomorrow. We'll have the Access My India, the C voter and the vote wipe data.
I don't think it'll be very different, but I think it's worth discussing.
If you like your politics, it's always worth discussing. And the thing about Bihar is they never get tired discussing politics. You can be at it the whole day till the evening. They'll keep talking about their politics, as will we when we come back with part 2 of the post-poll study. Thank you so much for joining us in our new election studio. It's been terrific to have you with us, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you. Goodbye. Good night.